Hey YouTube, how is it going today? Happy Friday and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about China's latest announcement to ban cryptocurrencies and the effect that it could have on Cleanspark. All right, well, let's start off with the news. And just in case you haven't seen it, the cryptocurrencies are taking a pretty decent hit today because of the news out of China. And it says China cracks down on cryptocurrency, banning all transactions. So if we scroll down here, it says China intensified its crackdown on cryptocurrencies on Friday, declaring all financial transactions involving cryptocurrencies illegal and issuing a nationwide ban on cryptocurrency mining, which is the power-hungry process in which computer networks compete to solve calculations in return for newly created crypto tokens. In a joint statement by 11 Chinese government entities, authorities vowed to work closely to punish illegal crypto mining activities to help prevent the hidden risk caused by the blind and disorderly development of the industry and to help the country achieve its carbon reduction goals. So this is all about the environment. China just wants to protect the environment. They have a good heart after all. And if you believe any of that horseshit, I don't know what to do for you. China is by far the biggest polluter in the world. I think they have more coal-burning power plants than all of the other countries combined, and that, of course, is a big polluter, and it doesn't look like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. I think they've built most of those just in the last, 5 or 10 years or so in an article that I read way back, so I don't remember that article word for word, but this is completely and totally because China does not want to lose control of the monetary system at all. They want to have complete control over it. And you got to kind of admire China. They kind of do what the rest of the world's governments are thinking. They just don't care what anybody thinks, so they do it first. And, it is what it is, but Bitcoin has taken a pretty big hit today. So obviously Cleanspark and some of the other miners are getting crushed. And just before I jump over to the charts here real quick, on Investopedia, it does have the 5 countries that produce the most carbon dioxide, CO2, in the world. And if you scroll down here, you can see the chart, and it's China produces 28% of it, and you have the rest of the world at 21%, followed by the good old US of A at 15%. And China has grown this slice of the pie a lot over the last 10 years. So if you believe that they are doing this for the environment, like I said before, I don't know what to tell you, but I thought that was really funny. Even though China's been saying that this whole time, they're doing this because it's not good for the environment. It has nothing to do with anything else. But yeah, let's get into the charts. All right, well, the first thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin. And as we can see, Bitcoin has been trending down over the last few weeks, but if you look at these blasts down that it has, these big nasty candles, they actually have been getting a little bit smaller. So it looks like selling pressure might be starting to dissipate, even though we got a little bit of a rounded top formation right here. It has found support at this area that I drew on the chart. I've had this on the chart for quite a while, and I was pretty interested to see how Bitcoin was going to react once it came down to this level, and it is finding support so far. This is a pretty concrete area of support. It was moving sideways, had a little bit of a false breakout, and then that second breakout, of course, worked, and the thing has been trending up for a while until this recent rollover. And this has been a pretty decent move up off of the bottom. So, 29,000 all the way up to 53,000. So a pullback of a decent size, of course, is completely healthy and natural. But I think we are at a pretty significant point in Bitcoin's chart. I think if Bitcoin doesn't hold this level, the next logical area is this area of support that it had, right around 29,000 or so. And if Bitcoin falls that far, that is going to put a lot of pressure on those Bitcoin mining stocks, especially Cleanspark. I think if Bitcoin falls to 30,000 or so, Cleanspark for sure is going to be in single digits. And after seeing Bitcoin fall to this support level, I was pretty excited. I was thinking to myself, could be a fantastic buying opportunity. But then I came across an article by Fortune saying that this could present a fantastic buying opportunity in Bitcoin, and that made me a little worried. It seems like when you see those articles in the news, that's usually a big fat setup. And so I'm going to sit back and wait and see how Bitcoin digest this pullback and this news before I make any decisions. But I think the way this chart is kind of looking, it doesn't look like this support area is going to hold. I kind of hope it does, but if it doesn't, I think the next logical target is right around 30,000 or so, and that is going to put a hurting on those Bitcoin miners, I think Cleanspark especially. All right, well, let's get into Cleanspark's chart because I actually do have some good news, enough of that bad news. But before I get into that, if you don't mind doing me a small favor and liking the smash button and help me out with the YouTube algorithm, I would really appreciate it. But please remember, I am not a financial advisor. All of this is just my opinion. Please make all of your own trading decisions. But if you do want to know what decisions I am making, I do have a Patreon link down there in the description if you want to know what we are buying and selling in real time. But getting into this Cleanspark chart, one thing that I forgot to point out yesterday was all of these gaps down here. And these gaps are really starting to resemble exhaustion gaps. And gaps are very significant on a chart. You should certainly pay attention to them. You know, there's three main types. There's the breakaway, there's the measured gap, and of course there's the exhaustion gap, the one that I'm talking about right now. In fact, there's actually four there. There's one that's called a common gap as well, and those are the ones that usually get filled right away. You know, like the S&P will kind of gap down a little bit, then it gets filled within, you know, the first 10 minutes or half hour of the trading day almost every single time. Those are what's called common gaps. But the one that I'm talking about right now is the exhaustion gap, and that comes after a very long downtrend. And how you know that they are exhaustion gaps is because they usually get filled within the first 2 to 5 trading days after the gap down. This was one that happened a few weeks ago. So this one getting filled rather quickly is a significant clue of what could be coming in Cleanspark's price before too long. You can see even after this move down, the sell-off is really starting to dissipate. You know, these down days are coming on much lower than average volume. I mean, there isn't a ton of buying pressure coming in right now either, but you can definitely see that selling is starting to exhaust itself. And in fact, in today's price action, I actually had an order in the market. Unfortunately, it did not get filled. Let me go intraday here. Once I saw that Cleanspark was going to be gapping down, I put in an order to buy some at 11.02 down here, and unfortunately it did not hit it, but this thing immediately turned around and filled the gap. So I mean, all these gap downs are really turning around quickly. So I think a lot of the selling pressure is certainly starting, or at least starting to finish off in Cleanspark. I think this thing is getting really close to a bottom. You know, the only wild card is that Bitcoin price. If Bitcoin, you know, really starts to collapse, which I don't know, I'm kind of leaning towards it's not really going to, even though I'm watching for it. But if that does happen, I think that's going to push Cleanspark, you know, under double digits down there into single digits. But I will certainly be a buyer because I think Cleanspark is definitely the hidden gem in the market right now as far as its growth potential. But I just wanted to point out those things on the chart, these exhaustion gaps that are happening, and these always happen towards the end of the move. You never want to try to anticipate an exhaustion gap. You want to let it, you know, fill itself and then get above a recent peak. I think this recent peak right here, right around 12.05 or so, is still valid. So I'm still watching Cleanspark for a break above 12.05, but I just wanted to point out those things on the Cleanspark chart. Let's get into some other charts. All right, well, before I close the video out, I just want to talk about a couple of stocks that I have been mentioning on my videos and give you a little bit of an update on it. The first one I want to talk about is MRIN Software Incorporated, and this one actually I took a trade on today. I had an option trade that was expiring today that I was kind of laser focused on because, you know, it was expiring today. Time was of the essence, so when this execution came through, kind of startled me a little bit, so I didn't want to take away from my focus on the option trade, so I kind of sold it rather quickly. But let's go to the intraday chart. If you hadn't seen that video from before, I was talking about this $9.60 area that I was watching for a potential breakout. We had a gap down the next day, so I kind of forgot about the MRIN trade a little bit, but the order for $9.66 was still in the market, and then it got executed today. And, you know, like I said, I was looking at that option trade, so I saw this level right here at $10.90. So I put in my order at $10.89, and it executed it rather quickly. It was only 500 shares, so it wasn't that big of a position. But when MRIN kind of pulled into the 8-period exponential moving average and started to hook back up, I was thinking to myself, man, maybe I should have stayed in that one. But for whatever reason, it just rolled over and has been kind of fading down. But this is how some of those trades work out. You know, if you have one of these buy stops in, sometimes it'll break through it and it'll come right back. But being that I was laser focused on that other trade, I just kind of took my profit on a day trade and you know, looked to get out of that options trade. And that seems like it worked out so far. But man, if you put a buy stop area above a resistance area like this, you can get some follow through, and it might not follow through for days and days, but you can get a pretty decent pop over you know, just a couple of hours. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at these significant resistance areas. If you get a breakthrough, you don't necessarily have to hold them forever, especially, you know, if you got one of my situations going on where you really can't be watching the market, or if you want to watch something else, you know, just you can take that day trade. There's no rule against it, but just want to give you an update on MRIN software. Let me get into the option trade. All right, well, that option trade that I was talking about was on American Airlines, but how I got looking at American Airlines is I saw this first. This is JETS, the Airlines ETF, and it looked like it was making a very nice bottoming formation. You can see the lows were getting higher, and it was starting to round up into that second bottom right here, and it was starting to get close towards that resistance area. So I went to that 15-minute chart. I looked at it and I thought that we probably had a pretty good chance of breaking through it. So what I did was looked for some other stocks in this sector, and I had it narrowed down to JetBlue. JetBlue didn't have all that much of a move, but you can tell it's definitely making a similar pattern. I had Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines definitely looks like it should have been the one that I should have bought options on, because this thing really exploded, at least more than American Airlines. I looked at Southwest. Southwest, very similar pattern, also a pretty decent move up, but the one I went with was American Airlines. I just thought since American Airlines was above all of these moving averages right here, it probably was going to have the bigger move up. Unfortunately, I was wrong, but I did make a pretty decent gain on these options. On this day right here, I bought the 2150 call at 3 cents a piece, and I sold them today at 16 cents. I think they went a little bit over 20 cents at one time. So I don't know what that comes out to be, 3 cents into 16 cents, what percentage gain that is, but it's definitely a lot more than the stock, because yesterday it was up 1.85%, and today it's up 2% at the moment. So definitely a lot better than if I would have just bought the stock up. Guess I probably should have bought Delta Airlines since that one went up so much, but hey, those are only the things that you know after the fact. But when you see a pattern like this where it starts to move sideways and those lows really start to get higher, and then it starts to round up and hold these moving averages, that's when you want to go intraday. Go to that 15-minute chart. Look for a significant resistance area, and if it looks like it's has a pretty good chance of blasting through, you can really take advantage on options that are expiring in the near term. You know, you don't want to be looking at it when these lows are getting lower. You want to wait for them to turn around and start getting higher, and you know, just really start to put pressure on that resistance area, and you have a pretty good chance of a breakout and making some decent money on some options. All right, everybody, that's all I have for this one. But if you have any questions or comments on any of these stocks, or if you want me to take a look at any other stocks, please leave them down there in the comments section, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end, and until next time, take care, everybody.